to this.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you're doing good. I'm Jamie, and we are going to do a bit of chat batching together. Episode 8, Bad Territory, is what we're going to talk about with spoilers and all. You have been warned. So let's take a look at who's in the chat. Hello to Glenn, the geeky hippie. I hope you're doing good, and thank you for your contribution to this stream, which took place backstage behind the scenes, pointing out a little error in the thumbnail that I absolutely did create myself. My error. Thank you, Glenn, for pointing it out. It has now been fixed, I believe. Gaz Nottingham, hope you're doing good. Gaz was second in the house. Glenn takes top spot. In third place, Peter over in the Netherlands. I hope you are doing good. Peter says, am I the only one still not entirely recovered from the death of a certain? I won't say the name because I don't want to start rumors again, which were started last week, but I think they've been put out by now. So I'm not going to say the name, but I can see there's a bit of chat about that. Clays is here as well. Hope you're doing good, Clays, my friend. Good to see familiar names in the mix. Anders Lay is in the house as well, giving you a little emoji wave. We'll be doing more of that later. You know when. Ross Jenkins as well. And Leona Power Droid Girl is here live for the first time this season. Leona, just to make you feel even more special than you already are, we did actually delay the timing. Chad and I, who I'm going to bring in a moment, specifically to give you a better chance of joining us, because I know the earlier time hasn't been great for you the last few weeks. So it is great to see you back here live and in digital person. So I mentioned Chad. I can confirm that Chad, the stopwatch Campbell, is back to do it again with us to chat batch. Chad, bringing you in. How's it going?
It's going good. Really good over here. Excited for more Bad Batch talk.
Yeah, we're going to do it again. And this week we have a whopping one episode, singular to cover.
It's going to be a little shorter. It's going to be a little less talking.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot shorter, I think. Chris from Explaining Computers is here as well. Hope you're doing, Chris. Hope all is good with you as well. I know you've been a bit behind with the episodes, but good to see you, even if it is just a little hello. And we do hope to see you soon for a live stream when you are all caught up, and I hope all is as good as can be with you and family as well, Chris. So Chad, as always, you have already released your thoughts on this episode with your podcast. Star Wars Lunch Special is Chad's podcast. It's linked in the video description, also Chad's YouTube channel as well. But Star Wars Lunch Special, you've always sort of, when you have covered Star Wars series, generally it's been live action. And the whole point of this podcast is that it's kind of short, kind of bite-sized, so it can be consumed in a lunch break. How are you adapting it to your first run at covering an animated series?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always loved Bad Batch, but I never talked about it. I feel like Mando, I have more to talk about. I just have more emotions. I'm harsher on live action Star Wars, so I have more to either be really happy with or more to be really angry with. And I like to have at least one or two shows that I don't have to write down my thoughts during, because sometimes you miss things or it's just not the same experience. But last season of Bad Batch, and I've always loved that show, so I had to do it. So I've condensed it into what I call Bad Batch of cookies. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a snack break runtime. We try to keep it 15 minutes-ish for this one. So at least here in the States, you get a 15-minute break sometimes, depending on where you're working. You get a 15-minute break, half-hour lunch, 15-minute break. So that's what I was kind of putting it on. But yeah, it was.
Well, you've had a good review for the latest episode of your podcast from Peter.
Wow.
Short podcast this time. Still awake when it ended, Peter said. That's a compliment, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that's part of my little intro thing, just as a way to lull yourself off to sleep. That's right.
Well, we will be getting compliments and no doubt complaints about the latest episode of the Bad Batch, episode 8, Bad Territory. But before we do, it would be a bit weird if we did not cover the fact that we mentioned live action. We have had our first real look at the next live action series to drop on Disney Plus from Star Wars. It is The Acolyte. So first of all, we got a pretty cool poster revealed, and then this trailer was the next day, right?
Yeah. Now, Jamie, you were at Celebration. Did you get to see that trailer at all?
I did not, but I noticed in the chat that Gaz Nottingham did. Let me see if I can find the... Yeah, here we go. Gaz Nottingham, I'm here for the Bad Batch chat, but I have to say that the Acolyte trailer was awesome. I was lucky to see a similar trailer Celebration and was blown away, but this got me so hyped again. No, so I know I never really... sort of talked much about Celebration afterwards, and I should do that one day, maybe for the 1 year anniversary that's coming up soon.
There you go.
Crazy. Hey. But no, like really, we didn't get. We were there one day early doing rehearsals, and then you're kind of there early in the morning doing rehearsals, and during those rehearsals, everything we were talking into was fake. Because even the producers of Celebration Live from official Star Wars Lucasfilm Online, are not told what's going to be announced. So I know the Ahsoka trailer was on the first day, I think, if I remember correctly. They also showed Indiana Jones trailer as well. When we were rehearsing, we were just talking into like Kristen's holiday snaps, it was all just fake content basically. So no, and I was doing a lot of the kind of field reports, so I was away for a lot of that anyway. Acolyte, I don't believe they showed in the main hall anyway, and Gaz will confirm this. I think it was in one of the panel rooms, so it would have been really super exclusive for those who got into that panel.
Okay.
So again, we were as much in the dark, and I'm talking about the actual producers and directors as well, as people visiting, So no, this is my first glimpse of the Acolyte, like most of the world. I love the poster, and the poster kind of set me up for my expectations up for something a bit darker in terms of the trailer, because it was a pretty like adult poster, the lightsaber and the big smear of blood projecting out of it.
I dug that. I was kind of all for it. It just seemed really like serious. That's the kind of poster that as a kid I would have been like, this is gonna be finally some real man Star Wars. Like I just would have been that kid that's like, we're going there. So
I don't know if the trailer matched it though, in terms of that tone.
No, I didn't feel, I mean, the Sith, they definitely took the Sith serious. It's just kind of getting back to like roots, I think, as far as the Jedi and lightsabers and all that stuff. So I'm all for it. Like I said in the post, like after I watched the trailer, I was kind of unaware how much I was missing like stereotype Star Wars. We really haven't gotten a lot of great lightsaber duels. I mean, since like, episode 9. I guess Ahsoka had some really good ones. Ahsoka did, but that's probably the only other thing that's really had a Jedi in it. We've kind of stayed away from that in a lot of our other stuff. Minus like, I mean, Young Jedi Adventures, like the kid shows are still sticking to it. But as far as our regular live action stuff, we haven't got much.
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the trailer. I think, you have to take the initial trailers. I mean, it felt a little bit more than a teaser, but still it is the first trailer, you can't, I don't know. I don't think you can you've got to manage your expectations. You shouldn't get too excited equally. Well, you can if you want. I try personally not to get too excited or too disappointed by a trailer. And overall, I did enjoy the trailer. And I think there's a lot of interest to take away from it in terms of where it's going to go story-wise. And also, what I did like was the look of it. I'm not going to say it's quite Andor level, but then it shouldn't look anything like Andor because it's a very different time, of course, in the galaxy. But the production values look really great. And I know it's been made in the UK using studios like Andor, not the volume so much, if at all, and also real locations like Andor. And that really does, for the most part, come across in the trailer. Production values do look great.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this show. It's nice to see something new. It's nice to see something that doesn't have to stick into the Filoni-verse. I do like the Filoni-verse, and I think Dave Filoni's fantastic, but I enjoyed Andor for being kind of a standalone thing. And the problem with like something like Book of Boba Fett is that it's not a standalone thing at all. As it gets going, you really need to be familiar with quite a lot in order to get anything out of that. Andor, that could be someone's first experience with Star Wars, and it's still going to be really good. So that's what I've enjoyed about these standalone projects. So I'm excited to see what we get out of this, and I don't know. I bet there's going to be some sweet lightsaber fights.
Yeah. Power Droid Girl did say that as well. It'd be nice to see some Jediing again. And yeah,
Yes.
Nice to be out of the Filoni first, and also out of the volume as well. Visually, it's always a breath of fresh air, since Andor, not to have every series in the volume like Ahsoka, Kenobi, and
Right.
Mando. Because, yeah. Gaz has come back on Celebration. I was at the Lucasfilm presentation on day one. Wow, you got everything in that one, didn't you? They showed us trailers for Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, Andor Season 2, Indiana Jones, and we got invited back to see Chapter 23 of The Mandalorian later on. They may as well just, that could have just closed Celebration. You got everything in that presentation. I do remember actually when we were doing all the introductions on stage, and I was on stage at that point, and when that presentation started, I remember in our kind of green room area backstage, a lot of the guys, a lot of the crew, the producers were watching a live feed to the presentation. And that's where they were finding out, what was being announced for the first time. I'm not going to say they were completely in the dark. I'm sure they were hearing rumors and stuff, on the grapevine, because people talk outside of Lucasfilm. They also talk inside Lucasfilm, as well. There's gossip everywhere. Gossip is everywhere. But I didn't watch the feed because I was at that point off stage and going around doing my field reports. Gaz, we should have met up. But anyway, okay, let's talk about I can see Clays is happy about the trailer. Acolyte equals fresh Star Wars. Yeah, agree with that. The trailer looks very promising, he says. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about, and I'll come back to the chat afterwards. So episode 8, Bad Territory. We will do some spoilers if there are any. I suppose there are, although one of the big returns of a character I have put on the thumbnail, but it was already, we all knew she was showing up at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chad, I don't know what you thought about this, but I do a bit because I listen to your podcast like all people should. I mean, for me, some cool locations, some okay action, but probably my least favorite episode of the season so far.
I don't think it's my least favorite. My least favorite is the one where the Bad Batch helped those kids. Like the two, like Wrecker and Hunter helped those kids, because nothing happened in that at all. Like, not even the needle didn't get pushed in any way. So for some reason, that episode just annoyed me. I also thought the last 2 episodes, because they released them back to back, were subpar, not necessarily worth releasing back to back. This episode I liked. People said this episode was dark. I watched it in 1080 and not 4K, and I swear by that. I say 1080 is the way to go. Disney doesn't know how to do 4K. They don't know what they're doing with their stream, so it just looks awful and dark. But I could see it. I liked that we saw something new. I've never really seen a Star Wars swamp. That's we have as far as Yoda and stuff, but this is a different thing where they're actually out on the bayou and in this boat going to things. And it's it reminded me a lot of Creature from the Black Lagoon, the movie. Just very similar to what they do with that. I thought the villain thing, or the praying mantis thing that they find, is kind of pointless. We didn't see much, but I thought that it was overall decent. I didn't mind anything that was happening, because we did still get some check-in with our main characters. Like Hunter and Wrecker, they're cool, but they're really just useless now. They exist for puns and hugs. That's it. They're muscle and hugs at this point in the show. And I think they're going to still just be muscle and hugs. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's you're now at the point where you are Han Solo in Return of the Jedi, which is on right now, who was useless. Han Solo does relatively nothing in that movie. They didn't know what to do with him, but because the story had moved on to other characters. And I think that's where we're at now with Bad Batch. So once I saw it was going to be about them, I was like, I'm going to tune out, but it kept me in. So I give it respect for that.
Yeah. No, fair. Excuse me. Fair points there. Gaz Nottingham says they went to Dirty Dagobah. Like Florida, right? They were in Florida, swampy Florida. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
Padre Girl says this episode is one of the best filler episodes. Yeah. Like I said before, there was some okay action, and the locations were cool. Dirty Dagobah. But yeah, like we said in the past, Crosshair was in the last season for sure was the most interesting character. And we had some great Crosshair only episodes, which were some of the strongest episodes of last season. The strongest moments of this episode for me were the moments with Crosshair and Omega now, because that's a really interesting relationship they've got, and it's humorous too. I do like his snarkiness and his sort of deadpan looks that he gives as well. For an animated character, it's so strong. And I quite enjoyed him, when despite his deadpan looks and his like snarkiness, like I said, and just his tone, like he's also being humanized more, like you had him feeling like he was getting FOMO, right? Feeling like he's missed out on adventures and stuff, finding out about where they've been. Kashyyyk, I think, came up in conversation, and it bothered him, right? It bothered him. So you are seeing a bit more of a human side coming out, and of course his physical struggle with the hand as well. I noticed that he didn't bring up what he'd been up to whilst they were prancing around Kashyyyk, executing civilians or whatever he was doing last season.
I wonder if they will address that, like do a whole episode kind of on that. That would be cool. But I think that Crosshair's journey is going to be one of the best character arcs in Star Wars when it's done. There's a lot happening with him. We definitely humanized him more. And he obviously cares for Omega. And I think what's going to happen, this is I talk about this in the podcast in a little more, but my theory is that this whole shot thing, right? Shaky shot now. He's going to always have that as a problem until Omega is kidnapped and they're running off with her. And then he's the one that has to do the saving shot at the end of an episode. And then he finally does it. And it's because he cares for her so much. And it'll be one of those things. We see that a lot in movies, but I think it will work well here with how his arc has been so far.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. And another call that you made, I can't remember if you made it on the podcast, but we did talk about it off air before starting the stream, is the character at the end that Fennec Shand is communicating with. You don't necessarily think that's a bad guy, do you?
No, I think the line of dialogue that she said was like, I'll send you their coordinates right now or something like that. Some kind of like, I'll show you where they're. It's not.
I'll send you what I have or something, I think.
Yeah. So it's not a like, so that you can then go kill them. It's going to be so that you can then meet up and help them. They just want to end the episode on that so that we think something bad is going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. But, they're hiding this character. Is that just for mystery about the character's intentions, or do you think it's a character we know?
Oh, it's definitely a character we know. It's going to be some kind of, surprise character. And
here's a theory. Theory from Power Droid Girl. Luthen.
Okay.
Building his rebellion.
Okay. Maybe.
It's possible. There's always an Andor connection. And if there is, Power Droid Girl will find it. That's for
sure. That would be really cool. They could do that, but I don't know if that will be what happens. I think that it will be somebody, that we've seen in the animated verse, because this all takes place within the Filoni verse. So they're going to bring in, and Filoni loves to recycle characters. It's all connected, right? Like interconnecting all of his characters and plots in some ways. So it'll be someone that we know from that.
Yeah, that would make sense. But you never know. You never know. And I don't think we'll find out next week. I feel like it'll be something they'll hold off for a few episodes at least. But we will see.
Definitely.
Okay, well, let's start getting our scores in for this episode. Marks out of 10. Meanwhile, I'll do a few. While we have a little think about these scores, Chad, I'm just going to do a few comments to bring us up to date. Back to Acolyte. I also heard this, Ross, and I believe it's come from a very, very credible source. Ross says, I heard today that the Acolyte episodes are only going to be just over 30 minutes, which is just Disney Plus standard, right? Disappointing, but true. I think it is true. Is it Leslie Headland? She said that in an interview, that one might be up to 40 minutes. I think she said the finale, but average is 30 to 35 minutes. I mean, it is disappointing, but you can't really say it's surprising at this point. That is the formula, it seems, that they've landed on.
That's what Mando's had. Like the first season of Mando's a lot shorter than you think. And it seems so when they say it'll be 35 minutes, it'll really look like it's like 40 minutes because Disney Plus has all of the foreign language credits afterward that they include in their runtime. But like if you buy it on a DVD or Blu-ray or in the 4K, like it's not on there. So the episodes are just shorter than Disney Plus says that they are. And there's always the recaps that you have to skip over and all that kind of stuff. So like, I think the shortest Mando episode is like 26, 27 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And the longest is like 54 or something. So they've done longer, but that wasn't until I think season 2 or something.
Glenn, back to Bad Batch is starting to warm up to Crosshair. Gaz, in response to your theory earlier about Crosshair and the shaky hand accidentally shoots Omega, and Ross Jenkins is also on board with that. Shaky hand.
What a twist.
Fennec Shan was a bit too much fan service for Peter. I don't know about that, to be honest. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think Fennec Shand is fan service-y, but like fits within this world. And Fennec Shand's made appearances in like every Filoni thing ever. So I figured that I thought Fennec Shand teaming up with Boba was really fan service-y too, but it worked out. It was fine.
Yeah. And she has a connection to Omega, which is part of the reason they go and find her, seek her out in this episode. Glenn thinks she's talking to another bounty hunter, not an Imperial. Gaz thinks Ventress, maybe. Ross Jenkins says the Harbinger is the next episode for that. So that's got to be Cad Bane, as he was in the final trailer for season 3. Ventress was also in the trailer, but I can't see her working for the Empire. Now I can see some scores coming in. The first one is for episode 8 from Clays, and it gets a 7 out of 10 from the good man himself. So, Chad, what about you?
I had given this one, I think, an 8.5, which is really high. I'm probably going to be the highest score here. I thought it was a good standalone episode, one of the better ones. It still touched on things that I cared about, had a character back that I like, and I felt like things were still moving somewhere. I didn't feel like we were at a complete standstill. This was a Mando episode, right? Like the ones that drive me nuts in Mando, where it's like a old Nintendo video game for your Game Boy, where it's like, boy, I'd love to give you that special potion, but I seem to have misplaced this item. Can you find it for me? And then you have to go and find this thing and bring it to them, and then they'll give it to you. Star Wars has gone off that. Filoni loves like RPG stuff and that kind of thing. So a lot of his shows have that in their stories. And this was just one of those, but I thought it was a better one as far as that goes.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.5, but again, that's not a bad score because 5 is average. 6.5, which, I think I did give a 6.5 for an episode already this season, but I would probably put this as the weakest if I had to choose the weakest for me, but I did enjoy it. It was a solid episode still. You know, Peter's given scores from last week because he wasn't here. Episode 6 gets a 7. Episode 7 gets a 6.5 because the ending was not convincing for Peter. Meanwhile, Glenn's in with his episode 8 score. It gets an 8.8 out of 10. Like I said earlier, biggest complaint is the bad title. It was too much bad for Glenn. All right, let's get the final scores in and then we will wrap this thing up. We'll be back next week to do it again. I'll check with Chad about the timing. But Peter, we're going to have to get you on quite soon because I know I can do next week and the week after in the normal slots. But then I start traveling again, so it will be a little bit more all over the place until the final few episodes. So we may need to get you on quite soon. And then I think Glenn's coming on for the finale to join us. It gets an 8 out of 10 from Gaz Nottingham. This is a high quality series. Absolutely agree with that. It ticks so many boxes in terms of story writing, the visuals, the sounds. So Gaz says, yeah, high quality series, and feels as though this episode was a calm before a bad storm to come. Something's gonna go down. Ross Jenkins, 7 out of 10. Power Droid Girls, 7 out of 10. Jinx, you both, yeah. And once again, Glenn is speaking positively about Peter, which means Peter must be paying him. Ross says, last time I checked on how many episodes there were, it said 16. I think Chad knows about this, like previous seasons. Now it says 15.
When they announced the actual, like when they revealed the poster, they revealed the list. So they've kept. Did I freeze? I froze.
You froze, Chad. Yeah, what's going on?
Dang it. Okay, so the poster when they released it had a list of the episodes, and it was 15. So I'm wondering if they're going to make it long, like they made their first episode. Their first episode was like 70 minutes. And I'm optimistic that that's how they'll do the last episode.
That'd be cool. I enjoyed that pilot episode. It was great. Peter gives episode 8 a 6.5. A bit of filler 1, not much progress story-wise, and fan service. Yeah, Peter, I probably won't reply tonight, but yeah, definitely send me a message and we can talk about what suits you better next week or the week after. But I probably won't reply tonight because I'm going out. But I will get back to you in the next few days. But basically, let me know what's better for you this kind of time. I'll check with Chad first whether we go back to 6 p.m. GMT, which would be 7 p.m. for you in Holland, or if we do what we just did again today. Okay, but yeah, drop us a message. And Chad will talk as well about the timings as well. All right, then. I think we're in. I think we've got everybody's scores. Anything you'd like to add, Chad, before we wrap up the chat batch for another week?
Star Wars Launch Special podcast. Listen to it at any time, available on anywhere you can get your podcasts.
Oh yeah, baby. I think by now you are preaching to the converted because it's the regulars are in the house tonight as ever. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. So another episode done. We'll be back next week, possibly with an extra mouth to feed to talk about episode 9. Is it one episode again next week?
Yes, just one. And then 10 and 11 are releasing back to back.
Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah, so that will be the week before I start the travel. And yeah, anyway, I don't need to give you all my itinerary. I'm sure you don't want to hear my itinerary just now, but we'll take it week by week. But next week's all good and the one after that. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you are watching on the replay, aka in the future, drop us a comment and don't forget to hit that like button as well. So thank you, everyone. You know what you've got to do now because I'm about to hit end stream. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again next week, either same time or a little earlier. Keep an eye out on that. All right, everybody. I'm clicking it. You know what you got to do. It's a workout. End stream. Goodbye.